I've seen landlords asking, "Are you married?" Sometimes employers that, "Why are you getting settled?" Because of their own individual need for greed. The center on which they function is greed. Society treats unmarried people as incomplete. This forces people into marriages to just be seen as adults, whereas in reality, we still have the child of a brain, 15, 16 year. Developing your mind requires rigor, hard work, and a lot of thinking. And then you see abuse gets normalized, like domestic abuse or sometimes marital, you can say rape, is dismissed as घर का मामला, adjust कर लो again. Yo guys, namaskaram. So in the coming videos, I'll talk in depth, a lot of depth, as to why this so-called precious institution of marriage is something I stand against, and fundamentally how, with the current scenario, it's just destroying lives. So this first video talks about why it makes sense to not marry, and I had written down some points, so I'll just keep on referring to them. In India, we see marriage as not a relationship of two people coming together, which is what it should essentially be. It's like an institution and industry, which is an evergreen industry, as quoted by a lot of businessmen, and a social pressure cooker. So today we'll dive deeper into, does it even make sense for an individual right now to marry in modern India, especially for a male? So marriage in India is a family contract, not a personal choice. When you marry in India, you're not marrying like one person. You're marrying their parents, siblings, what land they have, relatives, sometimes caste rules, which is very prevalent behind closed doors, certain rituals which a lot of us don't even know the meaning of, and financial expectations. One decision, and you have these multiple lifelong obligations. Most Indians underestimate this massive cost that comes with it. Also, the cost of letting go of all their dreams, ambitions, and things like that. The second thing is like this extreme social pressure cooker creates bad decisions. People don't seek out genuine compatibility. They marry because of, yeah, log kya kahenge, what the people would say. Their parents are panicking that certain age has gone. Every friend around us is getting married. Society labels unmarried men or maybe women as, and I add the words in quotes, irresponsible. On the contrary, I feel it's a lot more responsible to the planet, because people do marriage. One of the major reasons is to have kids, propagate their lineage, and whatnot. But right now, because of climate catastrophe, the planet is not in such a place that we can have more kids. But anyhow, that's a separate video. These bad decisions taken under a lot of unnecessary pressures leads to lifelong regrets. Why do people have long faces after marriages? When the initial fun, let's say the initial 1 to 2 years dies out, is because they took that decision not because their heart wanted, but of outside situations and things like that, and family expectations, cultures, and all of that. So India normalizes marrying in panic, like creating this invisible pressure upon you, and it is not a smart marriage. It just causes resentment in the heart of an individual. Now, the cost of Indian weddings is insane. So I've done a video on comparing education versus marriage. Every middle class burns roughly 10 to 50 lakhs, sometimes more. I've seen people taking loans. Why? To maintain status, to show face to people. Money that could have gone in mutual funds, education, maybe career, a lot of other investments, is simply wasted to keep up this pretense of niceness and whatnot. One day of social pressure, years of financial burden. People get married to EMIs. Indian laws are at high risk for men. It's not, and I quote, anti women. These are just plain facts. You see a lot of false cases. The Section 498A is being misused. A lot of news are coming out as to how people are misusing alimony. Laws follow old models. I feel that if dowry is illegal, at least alimony should also be illegal, because these laws were constructed in a reality when women were not so financially independent and they were just dependent on the male. Right now, things have changed a lot. We have progressed a lot. Child custody is also mostly mother favored. Divorce is slow, emotionally draining, and financially exhausting, because the lawyer or the law system gets a lot of money by extending dates and not focuses on justice, but just focuses on warming their pockets up. So you see the risk to reward ratio becomes unbalanced. And a lot of people I've seen, a lot of male friends marry because of this excessive need to have S. Now you know what S is. But a man who is in his early 20s, maybe late 20s, maybe sometimes even early 30s, who's still just building career, figuring things out for himself, loses the most because of such bias laws. Now, if I think it from the other perspective, from a woman angle, there could be some sort of pressures. Maybe marriage means relocation, career sacrifice, adjusting to in laws, lifestyle restrictions, constant performance, sometimes cooking, behaving right, etc. Though all these are being debated a lot by the modern feminists, but still a lot of these things exist. So most Indian marriages are not equal partnerships, they're duty heavy roles which the society has given to both the genders. Caste, religion, rituals add a lot of layers, a lot of complications. You see, intercaste marriages still faces resistance. A lot of people are not so open on certain things. Interfaith marriages also at times are more difficult. Couples fight not because sometimes of incompatibility, but what their parents want, why they are of so and so different, let's say caste, religion, whatnot, because their families cannot adjust. And then, let's say if you are relatively well educated in this day and age, you have quote unquote a modern mind, you still go back to those old social structures and old social bondages of sorts. And then the career growth for anyone gets handicapped. A false case makes a man lose his sanity for life. Sometimes women are also forced to not work. This option of relocating for opportunities becomes hard. Let's say if you getting good jobs in a relatively big state, you would always have to think twice or thrice, and the cost associated with those decisions. Having to settle down forces people to compromise on their dreams, ambitions, the type of experiments and lives they wanted to live. Maybe higher studies also for a lot of people, but in India, marriage quickly becomes a obstacle, a roadblock to aspiration if you want to do big things in life. Mental health is not prioritized in Indian marriages. Couples are not taught to effectively resolve their conflict, how to communicate honestly about their needs, setting proper emotional boundaries. Instead, we hear scripts which we have picked up from the common cinema, which is Bollywood, and do nonsense like sometimes people also just pick up cultural beliefs, यार adjust करो, शादी में सब चलता है, compromise is love. The literal translation of is, यार just bloody hell shut up, don't do a lot of RR, just keep suffering like us. Why are you trying to have dreams, ambitions when we have suffered our own lives? Actually, it's jealousy that a lot of boomer uncles, aunties are not able to see through their own eyes the freedom that a person has. And then compatibility is very rare because most Indians don't even know themselves. Compatibility comes when you're very clear on the type of person you are. People don't marry for values or personality, they marry based on horoscope, astrology, caste, salary, height, skin tone, and as I had mentioned, religion. Zero understanding of what this being wants, what are our own emotional needs, which leads to zero compatibility. And there's always a tension, psychological warfare with your partner. You're playing dirty little games, which also increases to a rise in corporate affairs, cheating, and things like that, or let's say work affairs, wherever you are. Marriage is, I don't know why, treated as the only path to respectability, whereas when we read our scriptures, there are like so many noble, admirable paths of life which one can take. I've seen landlords asking, are you married? Sometimes employers that, why are you getting settled? Because of their own individual need for greed, the center on which they function is greed. Society treats unmarried people as incomplete. This forces people into marriages to just be seen as adults, whereas in reality, we still have the child of a brain, 15, 16 year. Developing your mind requires rigor, hard work, and a lot of thinking. And then you see abuse gets normalized, like domestic abuse or sometimes marital, you can say grape, is dismissed as घर का मामला, adjust कर लो again. Emotional, this abuse, like whatever abuse is happening, it's not even recognized as violation of human rights. We see that this is all normal. People stay stuck because Indians in general prioritize, and at the word quote, family images over individual well-being, that what is it that their heart longs for. Because a lot of people come and start saying these are all Western values and things like that. But to be honest, these are deeply Indian values. I think these were like some of my points. I don't know, what do you feel about it? Because what I see in marriage these days is just, I don't know, dowry nonsense, alimony nonsense. What relatives would say, caste, politics, religion, whatnot, legal traps. meaningless rituals at times, because people don't even know the meaning of, let's say, if a pandit is reading those shloks. Sometimes even pandits don't know that, but that's again another video. So I feel don't jump into marriage. This life is just meant for, I'll just use spirituality as a clutch, that this life is meant for liberation, dissolution of your own ego, living from the highest center. And marriage often becomes a roadblock because when you see the life of Gautam Buddha, that's the foremost example. He was married and stuff, but then he left all of that. And then he kind of came back, but then he did not relate it to his wife as a wife, but let's as a disciple, as a consciousness or whatnot. So in India, this whole system around marriage is quite effed up. And until the system evolves, it's better to not get into shackles of comfort, what would happen to us in old age and things like that. Choose freedom, growth, even if you live less. So in my Hindi channel, I had made a video about living like Bhagat Singh Ji, Swami Vivekanand, Bruce Lee, and Heath Ledger. You can go check that out. But prioritizing growth and peace over these pressure-filled institutions, probably if you are in India, what certain realities you should have. Right now, you see a lot of cheating, a lot of cases coming up where males are just being deleted by the system. So you just need to prioritize and see facts as facts rather than thinking from your, you can say, the major object you have down there. So that's one video. Let me know what you feel about it. Do write your opinions and comments on it, and I'll catch you in the next video. Until then, just write how much work you have done, what limitations you have broken, and we'll catch up soon. So this is Debu Pindra from Debu Ki Dastak signing off. Cheers, and you stay awesome. Bye.